We are very proud that we can host this conference on risk management history with the European Association for Banking and Financial History. The situation we see today has seriously challenged this culture of trust. Reputational risk is ultimately a matter of lack of trust. Our industries are perceived by a wide public to be closely associated not only with risk but also with risky behavior. It may be worth looking into history of trust to see what could be learned.
And one of the real lessons, I mean, why did 2008 happen? It happened because people had not lost enough money in the previous 5, 10, 15 years.
Maybe we have to be very, very careful in the belief of the models we use. And a collective belief that the model we have for whatever trade type we are doing is absolutely correct.
I guess most of the crisis Dr. Bänziger was talking about happened exactly because people said, we have now a solution where we have security and profitability at the same time. As a mathematician, I must say this is impossible.
Everybody keeps coming back to the fact that there are things you just can't predict. And I think I would put some level of blame on an over-reliance that is emphasized through things like the Basel II and so on trying to come up with scientific answers to risk.
So their society is very much on, let's test the thing thoroughly. That's not what we do in the financial world.
And when you look at the size of banks today, they have grown out of proportion to what they have ever been before in history, are as large in many cases as even the large economies that they're based in. Some of them are vastly larger than, their balance sheet is larger than the economies in which they are based.
So if we could have something like a attorney privilege, which we have if you work with a lawyer, for like a box where you say, this is for historians, and it's like historian privileged, and you can't use it in a lawsuit. We would keep more.
Because again, it was a point that was very, very powerfully made this morning, that the memory of people in practice tends to be quite short. And so after the Asia crisis, you get the story, by the middle of the 2000s, things look good. And anybody who worries about countries defaulting, things like that, gets laid off or goes to California. So historians are actually one really good way of avoiding that kind of particular, and I think you have to call it, particular risk.
There's not a lot of data out there. It's quite difficult to find archives where you could base that information from, and I think one of the things that we need to do here when you go home, so you need to encourage your companies that we put more emphasis into keeping the important corporate history records, because we can only formulate policy when you can learn from the lessons of the past, but if the lesson of the past is not available, we cannot do that.